Hi everyone. So a former colleague saw my last video on tech layoffs and he reached out and asked me a very pointed question. How's life after leaving Amazon in this job market? I thought it's a really good question. So today I wanted to make a video about the three things I've learned in the past 8 months since I left big corporate. Things that I think I probably would not have learned any other way. And thing number one is this. It is brutally hard to make money on your own outside of the company setting. I think that when I was at Amazon, I underappreciated how much credibility I was actually borrowing from the company logo. For example, when I used to exchange business cards with people in Japan, they would get my card and they would be like, wow, you work for Amazon? Because Amazon is fairly recognizable over there. The company's brand opened doors for me. Nowadays, it's the opposite. When people get my card, they go silent. They're still polite, but you can see that they're cautious. And I understand the skepticism. Without the company's brand behind me, trust resets to zero. So this is also why if you watch my Japan vlog, I do nearly all of my business development in person nowadays. I show up and I go to their offices. I actually fly from the US to Japan regularly just to meet people in person. I'm sorry, the wind is blowing, so my eyes are getting a little bit teary. Not because I want to cry or anything, it's just this eye has some problem with the wind. Because even with introductions, the person that introduces me might know me, but the person that's being introduced or the receiving party has no idea who I am. I'll give you one other example. Sorry, I had to move to indoors because the wind was really bothering me. Anyways, back to what I was saying, I'll give you one other example. I recently taught a workshop at a local college here in the States where I taught students how to look for roles in Japan across the border from here in the States. And the school paid me $200. On paper, it looks fine, right? Except to get that $200, I had to make 6 trips, each 60 miles round trip. And I had 8 meetings over these 6 trips. I taught a free pre-workshop class, and there was just countless email exchanges. I actually lost count. So if you add up the prep, the meetings, the driving, the free class, the emails, everything, this came to around 50 hours for $200. And this does not even include all the other schools that said no. Hence, nowadays when people, especially my former colleagues, reach out to me and ask me if they should quit, because a lot of them are quietly suffering, I usually tell people to think twice. Then the next question becomes this: if quitting is this hard, then why did I do it? And do I regret it? I do not regret it, not at all. In fact, I've not felt as much at peace as right now, which I'll go into later. But the reason I don't regret it is not because I'm doing well financially. It's not because I've got everything figured out. I don't. The reason I don't regret it is because before I quit, I really took the time to cross-examine this decision from various different angles. And I wanted to share my thought process back then today, just in case anyone else is going through a similar situation and you're also thinking about this. The 3 areas where I really took the time to examine the decision were this: the environment, the craft, and the mission. And I'll explain them one by one. By the environment, I mean the place and the life setting that I wanted to build my future in. And for me, very specifically, it was about Japan. And in order to confirm whether the opportunities in Japan were real, a few years ago, I actually took a pay cut. And I also accepted a role that made less sense on paper in order to move to Tokyo. So I lived there for 1.5 years. And living there gave me my answer. And then the second part is the craft. And by that, I really mean whether you would still enjoy your hobby as much if it became your work. For me, it was making videos. I really liked creating videos in my spare time as a way to let out the steam from work. However, when I started making videos, more of a regular thing, then I started to see the not so pretty side of it. The deadlines, the ups and downs with the traffic, and also for me personally, because some of my videos were published on Chinese social media platforms, so it was also censorship. But despite all of that, despite experiencing through the ugly side, I still loved it. And that's when I knew that, okay, I can live with the labor of it too. Then comes the third part, which was the hardest part for me. It took me the longest time to nail the mission. That is really asking myself the question, what is the thing that I care so much about that I'm willing to commit my life to it? And at the time, I was seeing a therapist because of depression. And I was very lucky to have a great therapist who helped me piece it together gradually. And I came to realize is what I was seeking was meaning, but more deeper than that, what I was really looking for is this intersection of my passion and interest with what could be of value, what could be useful to others. What is the thing that me with my experiences and background can put on the table and bring to others so they can live a better life? And it doesn't need to be anything big or dramatic, but something real and tangible and rooted in my own experience. So after a lot of searching, I realized that what I can offer is actually my cross-border experiences, my experience working and living in different countries and how to find opportunities from across the country. So when I got clear on these three things, the environment, the craft, and the mission, quitting no longer felt like this one boom dramatic leap of faith. It actually felt like a very natural next step in life. Now, do I have all of this figured out? I don't. not even close. I do have a few small pilots. I have a couple headhunting firms in Tokyo that I partner with, some language schools that I also partner with, and we do these career training courses. I also have a couple courses, workshops, candidate support, BD, all of them happening all at once. I work 12 to 14 hours days, weekends, holidays. I actually worked on Christmas and also New Year's as well. I'm in this weird spot of working more, making less, but feeling more at peace. Why? And here comes my lesson learned number 3. When you're working on something that you feel deeply passionate about and connected with, the peripheral anxieties lose their grip. I used to think it's a cliche, but now that I'm actually experiencing it, it's real. I want to share a scene that happened recently that really stayed with me, that I think explains the answer to this question. So after the workshop that I taught, that I had mentioned earlier, I stayed and had lunch with the students because I wanted to see what they were going through. And we had a long table, we were going around the table, and every student was walking me through what they were going through in job hunting. A question that came up many times around that table was, do I have the right major? Am I studying the right thing? Do I have the right experience? Do these companies in Japan even want us? And as I was hearing them ask these questions, I could see what repeated rejections do to these young people. I could see the loss of confidence in their eyes. And this is what I told them, and what I genuinely believe as well. Japan is not a silver bullet. The country has its own issues. For one thing, the salary level is lower than the States. In the meanwhile, there are real opportunities there, especially for new grads. For example, companies would hire a lot of new grads into this type of role called Sogo Shoku, which are roles without a fixed track. They would hire you into a starting class, they would develop and train you, and then assign you to rotate through different departments before giving you a more permanent assignment. The philosophy is they don't expect you to perform from day one as someone freshly out of college, but they want to take the time to nurture you, and they're hiring for potential. As I was talking through this, I could see their faces change in front of me. I could see hope come back to their eyes. That moment really impacted me. It brought back something that I buried for a very long time. So 15 years ago, I quit my first corporate job to go to grad school to get a master's in education. At the time, I wanted to be a teacher. I did not go down that path, and in fact, I went back to corporate. And over time, I just put that part of myself away. But sitting there with these students and talking about Japan and possibility, it felt like that part of me come back. And this is when I realized this is not me, 40 years old, trying to find myself. This is me after 15 years of corporate life, finally admitting to myself that there was something that I cared about a long time ago. But back then, I was too young and inexperienced to be able to commit my life to it. And 15 years later, now that I've quit my last corporate job, this time, I think I'm ready.